Thank you everyone for joining today. We're going to get started. If you do have any questions please put it in the chat and we will answer them at the end as time allows. As a reminder, we will send you a link to the final recording and presentation with helpful resource links after the session. Today's 108 Degrees Digital Marketing is presenting Content Planning, Fueling Your Email Strategy, led by Marianne. Marianne is a marketing professional who is passionate about helping her clients reach their goals. She's the founder and principal of 108 Degrees, a certified women's business enterprise and women-owned small business with over 20 years of outstanding service to the business community, nonprofits, and educational institutions. She's also a MailChimp Pro partner with over 25 years of experience in email marketing and the author of Precision Email, 7 Lessons in Engagement Strategy. Today, Marianne leads our session as your marketing strategist, helping you plan your path and answering the digital marketing questions that will lead you to success. So, Marianne, kicking it over to you.
All right. Thank you, Lauren. Thanks everyone for coming today. So time to put your planning hats on. We're getting into Q4. And so we start thinking about the next year and what we're going to do. And we have to plan. Now, if you are here live or if you're watching this recorded, you probably already understand why content planning matters. But you have to carve time out of your schedule and maybe out of the schedules of other people on your team. So we're going to take a minute right here and talk about why planning matters and why it's so helpful to you as a marketing organization so that when you have to convince other people to carve some time out of their schedule, you'll have the answers to do that. All right. So the first reason why planning matters is metrics. What metrics? Well, all the metrics we as email marketers care about. Consistent communication drives positive metrics. Those metrics include engagement. Now, if you just woke up out of the bed yesterday in the world of email marketing, you might not realize that your engagement metric is the most important metric you can have right now because ISPs are not going to keep you visible in the inbox. You are not going to get through the firewall. You are not going to make it to the inbox if you aren't showing regular engagement. Engagement is the signal everyone's looking for. It means you're relevant to the subscriber in question. Conversion. If you're in sales or you're in fundraising or whatever department you're in where you're looking for feedback, you want conversions. You want somebody to check out. You want somebody to get the discount code. You want somebody to contribute. You want somebody to download something. You want some kind of conversion to move people along in your marketing funnel. And finally, sender reputation. Back to what I was saying about engagement. Engagement's related to your sender reputation. If you don't want to be spam blocked, if you don't want to be locked out of Google or Yahoo or Outlook or any of those providers, you have to maintain a strong sender reputation. Those metrics are critical to a successful email campaign, and that's why we need content planning. Because there are benefits to this. First of all, brand alignment. If you're trying to get your marketing team together, just remind them that by having a planned content calendar for your email and leveraging that across other channels, you will keep brand alignment for messaging, for voice, for tone, for imagery, all of that. Audience relevance. You need to make sure that your audience considers you relevant. When we start to talk about things like frequency, cadences, and just generally messages and moving people through the marketing funnel, you need to be relevant to your audience. And by having a content planning calendar, you're able to step back and get a 10,000-foot view on what your audience actually cares about and how to plan content that will be relevant to them. Finally, improved team workflow. For those of you who are not the sort of sole content provider for your organization, or even if you are, you still have to coordinate with other people to get things done. If you have a calendar, it becomes the roadmap that everyone can use. So again, use these benefits, use these metric statements, use these benefit statements to coordinate your group, to get everybody on the same page, to spending the time now before we're in the rush of the new year to plan the content planning for next year. If you are the party planning committee, then you need to build your editorial calendar. And we're going to talk to you now about some things you need to include and how to do it. And also looking for anything in questions later about questions about what you should be including. So what is the editorial calendar? The first thing to remember is that it should be a good visual workflow tool. Okay. You can use a spreadsheet, you can use a Word doc, you can use whatever you want, but what you want is something on paper, not just inside your brain, not just the little wheels turning. Okay, but something that people can visually see that maps out month to month, week to week, day to day if needed, what kind of content you need. So you can also have sub calendars for seasonal. So if you are Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Giving Tuesday, if you're in that pattern, you can do a mini content calendar just for that season. But don't let that be the only calendar. Make sure you have a calendar that is year long, that takes you through all of the touch points that your audience members need. And your calendar should be something that helps you to organize and track content. Why do I say that? It seems kind of obvious. Well, here's the thing, we all are busy, and we tend to have this habit of creating a calendar and going, wow, these are great ideas, and then shoving it in a file and not looking at it again. Organizing and tracking content means doing it regularly, every week, every month, depends on the cadence that you're sending in, but making sure that your editorial calendar is continuously updated with the status, with the changes. Maybe your industry is changing. Maybe there's been a new product launch or product release you have to be concerned with. That could adjust your editorial calendar. So make sure it's a living, breathing document that you're accessing regularly. All right. Now, everyone's editorial calendar is going to be a little bit different. I'm going to tell you the required things that every one of them needs to have. And then if you want to add some sort of nuanced things for your industry, you can feel free to do that. The first is the content elements. Are you going to have a hero image, a video, a link to download something? Is there going to be text? Is it long form or is it just short with calls to action? What exactly are the content elements you need in your particular creative? What is the send date? Is it particularly a fall campaign or a winter campaign? Or is it a cadence? Is it an automation that's going to run every 7 to 10 days for the next 6 months? Understand the date and timing required. Think about the type of campaign. So your campaign could be a single one-off that's connected to the rest of your overall theme messages. It could be an automation series. It could be a short mini series that is an educational, 3 or 4 emails over a course of time or something like that. Understand what type of campaign you are creating. And also if that campaign is aligned with other channels, with say SMS, and you're doing something that is email and SMS reminder to go read the email, understand what type of campaign it is so you can incorporate all of that detail into your pre-planning. The workflow status. Is it planned? Is it approved? Is it in progress? Is it completed? Is it launched? Where exactly is it? Because if this is a living, breathing document that multiple people will be accessing, which it should be, anyone should be able to look at this and say, oh, okay, these have been done. These we're still working on. These aren't approved yet, so we shouldn't start in on those yet. Workflow status is really important. Audience definitions or segmentation definitions. I'm going to hope that if you're here and you're thinking about this level of planning, you're not sending the same email to every single person all of the time. That you hopefully have some kind of segmentation, whether it's for your automation series or people who've purchased from you before or something like that, so that people are getting a slightly different version, something that's appropriate to their segment in terms of timing and message. Make sure you're putting that in your content planner, in your editorial calendar, so that when you're creating the content, you direct it to that audience segment. If it's past customers who have a relationship with you, they've bought something from you before, you can have a different conversation in the inbox with that person than you can with somebody who's never purchased from you before, maybe just heard of you 10 minutes ago. All right, so think about audience segmentation when you're building your calendar for your email so that you appropriately address. Now, you can also have multiple audience segments. Maybe it's people who are in the funnel to buy and they're in the proposal status and they're people who've purchased from you before. They could be getting the same message. So it's fine to state multiple segments, but make sure you're stating something and not just email for everyone. I like to put KPI measures. I know that's hard for some people, but we're thinking more goals, right? So if I'm sending a video versus, say, a webinar invitation, I probably have a different expectation of response. So putting those KPI measures of how many clicks I expect to get or how many replies I expect to receive or even just the level of participation, try to put that in there. Start that planning now. It's going to give you something to measure against later. Even if you're not exactly right, that's okay. Start measuring so that you can continue to improve. Lastly, every editorial calendar needs to have assigned resources. That email that's going to share a video, who's producing the video? Who's writing the content? Who's laying out the email? Who's scheduling the send? If you're a small team, that might all be one person, and that's okay. But if you've got more than one person on your team or you're leaning on resources that are outside your department, it's really important you list all of those resources so people can, again, go to this living document, come back in advance of that campaign and say, oh, this is what I'm responsible for. So hopefully, like a syllabus in college or high school, you'd look at this and go, I should plan for this in the future. Now, we're not all great students, but at least you've got some place to start, right? This is what this document should be for those people that aren't part of the core team. A little bit about best practices here and things you really need to know when you're implementing this kind of calendaring system. So, first of all, you need to build a template that includes all of those elements. So, all the things that I said, plus whatever other information you might have. For example, maybe you're going to have one editorial calendar for the entire company, but different departments have different things they're responsible for. Just make sure that whatever template you build includes all of the elements you need to articulate for every single campaign. Sometimes that's a lot of elements. I mean, I've seen some forms that are, 30 pieces of information long. If that's what it takes to do it right, that pre-planning will save you time later, so do it. Remember, living document. Update it regularly, weekly, monthly, whatever the cadence is, at very least monthly. Okay, please do not go 90 days without looking at your editorial calendar because it will be so out of date, it'll probably be useless. Weekly is great, but if your cadences are not that frequent, if your cadence is fairly slow, then certainly you could do it once a month. But at very least, every 30 days, someone needs to be opening that up, checking the status of what's there, updating things, and making changes and notifying people as needed. Make sure that the content you're creating aligns with your segments, your audiences, and your goals. Okay, so I'm a big believer in recycling. If you have a campaign you used last year and it did really, really well, there's absolutely nothing wrong with reusing that campaign again this year. It was successful, it was proven, it was tested. Great, use it again. But does it still align with your audience? Does it still align with that same segment? Or maybe there's a different one. And what are your goals for this year? What are your, talking about a product that you're phasing out just because the campaign was successful isn't probably the best use of your time or the best use of your touch with the subscriber. Maybe taking what you learned from that and updating it to new products would be a better idea. All right. Now, if you're in marketing, you are probably already doing some of this. But if you are new to marketing or new to email, I want to just introduce you to the idea of repurposing that email content across channels and repurposing other content into the email channel because it is a huge time saver and a huge efficiency booster, especially for small campaigns, small teams. All right. When I say repurpose, what do I mean? Now, you can repurpose an email like what I just described in resending something that was successful. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. But you can go deeper than that. You can take content that you have in other places and transform it for the audience segments that when you built that calendar and you said, these are the people we want to reach and this is when we want to reach them. Well, let's start digging into the content you already have from this in email and other channels to transform it into something that your audience segments can respond to. Focus on channel specifics. That means think about specifically what works in email. For example, this workshop, we advertise on social media. We also advertise in email. We generally see a better response in email. Why? Because the people on our email list already know us. And so therefore, when we're saying, hey, would you guys like some more information? Those people come back and go, yeah, I'd love to have more information. And they join. So understand what your email channel can do and what kind of content's going to perform well there so you can repurpose content in a manner that your audience will be most responsive to. Thinking cross-channel. So if you don't already, think about bringing blogs into emails. I don't mean advertising the email and, hey, check out our blog and go read it. You should do that, absolutely. But maybe your blog has a function as an email. Some audiences really respond well to long form emails. We have several clients we work with who I'll just say their subscribers don't like to click. Their subscribers are going to read what's in the email in front of them, and then they're going to archive it and go to the next email. They're not going to click. So sometimes that blog content adapted in such a way to be appropriate to the segment of the email audience can be the perfect thing to put in front just in a long form content. If you haven't tried that, maybe test that one out. Think about transcribing your videos and your webinars and your other video content into written content. Guess what's going to happen to this workshop? This workshop is going to be transcribed, whether we use it as an email or in a blog or something like that, some kind of website content. All the content that we create by video, we try to take it and use that transcript in some way. It's content, you've created it, and the odds are it's really relevant for your audience. So go ahead and take that transcription. You can use any kind of software. Most software doesn't now. Like you can use Loom, you can use a Descript. Most software now will give you the transcription. Take that, and now you can sort of sort through that, find the good nuggets, and adapt it into an email, a blog, an email and a blog, maybe even social media. Sometimes when we write a newsletter, especially the ones where we have like a lot of newsy bits to it, maybe it's industry updates, product updates, service updates, anything like that. They can be a little bit long, but they're good and people like them. Every single line item in that email is a potential social media post. Take a look at what it is, if it's timely and if it's appropriate, and if it targets the people in your social media channels in a way that is appropriate for them. So again, you might be talking to different people in email than you talk to on social, and that's fine. But if there's a crossover there, take some of that email content, especially ones that are proven to do well by seen by, the clicks and responses to it. Take that and bring that over into social. Reuse and repurpose that stuff. It makes all of your content planning easier. And finally, take anything that's relevant for content on your website, in your emails, any place at all, and target it on those other channels. Again, we want to think about audiences and segmentation here. Who do I talk to on LinkedIn? Who do I talk to on Facebook? Who do I talk to on TikTok? Find who you're talking to and look at all the content you have and think about where it can be reused. This relates to your content calendar because it makes your job easier, right? If you suddenly find that you have a lot of great YouTube content, you can leverage that in your email. So as you're working on your editorial calendar, look at what you already have and look at what might be appropriate to pull into email that you haven't put there before. For those of you with small teams, this concept of create once, publish anywhere is incredible efficiency. If you're the team of one or two, which a lot of email marketing teams are, believe me, this makes your job so much easier because you can pull from what everybody else is doing. You don't have to reinvent the wheel every 30 days. Also, the really big sort of, psychological benefit is you're reinforcing this message that you've been trying to send out across audiences in different channels. Back in like the old timey days of print advertising and the rules of frequency and recency taught us that you had to put your ad in the same spot in the newspaper or magazine or whatever the publication was. If it's a bottom left corner ad or a top right corner ad, your ad had to be in the top right corner every single issue for at least 5 to 7 issues for people to even remember that they had seen your ad. So our advertising has changed, our models have changed, but the human brain has not evolved that much in the last 75 years. Those rules still apply. So, per the era of Don Draper and print magazines, that psychology still works today. So if you can take that message that you had on your YouTube channel and you can put it into TikTok and you can put it on LinkedIn and you can add it to your email campaign, you're reinforcing the message that you want your audience to hear. Again, segmented as required for the particular channel, but absolutely reinforces that message. If you're taking some of your email content and adding it to your website, you're going to boost SEO. Absolutely. And of course, you're a lean team. This becomes extremely sustainable because now as you start thinking about creating content, you start thinking about in how many places can I use it? And then you put it into your editorial calendar so you plan for it and keep it to schedule. Even you too can become a CAP person. So let's align your content with your KPIs for your organization. In terms of strategy, set realistic goals, okay? Understand with every campaign, with your calendar, when you're looking at your series, whether it's an automation or one-off campaigns, whatever it is, that what are your goals? Are your goals lead nurturing? Are you trying to garner sales? Are you trying to get downloads, opens, clicks, whatever kind of engagement? Set realistic goals so that you can measure your editorial calendar and your planning against what your actual outcomes are. That's going to help you with your next editorial calendar. Make sure those goals are aligned with your audience segments. Somebody who's top of funnel isn't ready to buy today. So if you're sending that email to the top of funnel people, Don't set goals that are check out today. Probably not going to happen. Maybe we can just get them to visit the website. Think about what KPI measures you need to have for those goals. Remember, opens aren't exactly the most reliable anymore, but they're okay to use as a benchmark against other things you've done in the past. But set up those KPI measures so you get the data that's important, not just to you and your team, but also to other teams looking at this data and your results. All right. In terms of your content map and what you're putting in your editorial calendar, first of all, think about what your audience actually needs. What are they looking to get from you? Then think about your business objectives. What do you want to get from them? What do you want to get from this piece? These are important things that you want to think about as you're mapping out your content so that your content can meet your KPIs. Schedule milestone events like and product launches, annual events, holidays, winners. Think about all of the things that happen in the calendar that are related to you and your organization and that are related to the world in general. Okay. What are the things that we need to be thinking about and plan for those in your calendar? And then think about balance. If anybody ever read the Gary Vaynerchuk book from like 10, 15 years ago, Jab, 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 Right Hook, it's about giving before you ask. Give, 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 then ask. Because if you ask too often, people will unsubscribe. They are in this for themselves. You're in their inbox. Okay. They're in it for themselves. So give to them frequently, ask infrequently, and you're more likely to get results. And always make sure that you reward positive interaction with your audience. So, for example, somebody completes a survey or someone answers a poll question, somebody replies to a campaign. Give positive reinforcement to those people because those are the people that are driving up your engagement and also giving you feedback that's really useful for your next plan that you're working on. This is probably one of the most important things and one of the best benefits that you get from having an editorial calendar for your email marketing, and that's your cadence and your consistency. You're not going to change. What should your frequency be? Well, what are the expectations of your audience? In some industries, you can email people every day. In some industries, once a week. In some, every 30. And there are some audiences in some industries that you're going to talk to once every 90 days because that's just the cadence that makes sense for them. You have to know your audience and understand the frequency that will work. If you don't know, start testing. Start testing with small groups to see what's tolerated and be there as often as you can without being annoying. When you think about frequency, also think about your team capabilities. You might have an industry where people could hear from you 3 times a week. You also might be an email team of one with very little marketing support in other departments. So be realistic to what you can actually produce. I try to tell people that a typical email takes anywhere from 6 to 8 hours to produce. So if it's 6 to 8 hours of effort, that's assuming you have the content ready, right? If it's 6 to 8 hours to produce, how many of those can you produce in a week? And what if you also have to get the content ready? Think about that. How much email is required to meet your goals? So this is hard if you're new to this, but if you've been doing it for a while, you probably have an idea of how much you need, how many touches you need with your audience in order to get the next level of response or move them down in the funnel. And if that's the case, you need to understand what's required so your content calendar can reflect that. That may mean that you're building an editorial calendar that has a lot of empty holes in it because you just don't have content yet for it. But at least know that up front going in so that you could have goals for the next cycle. Engagement. Engagement's the most important thing in email marketing right now. And when I say slow and steady wins the race, I mean, do not rush out things just to get, an email out the door. Get an email out the door in the timing that's right to build the engagement with your audience. I don't want you waiting 90 days if that's not what your industry requires. You don't want to have big gaps, but absolutely, you definitely want to have engagement happening on a regular basis. So encourage your subscribers to respond with calls to action. That could be visit our website. It could be download this thing. It could be answer this survey question, whatever you need to use in order to encourage engagement. As an email marketer today, you need to build that into every single campaign. Find something that they will engage with. And then think about seasonality. So if you're in B2B, you probably don't get a whole lot of engagement between like Thanksgiving and Christmas. Just a really hard time of year unless you have like an end of year thing going on or early January thing. It's just a slow time for B2B, just like 4th of July is. If you're in consumer sales, Black Friday might be huge for you. So think about what your seasonal highs and lows are and plan that into your editorial calendar. Those low seasons are the great time for you to be creating things in advance for the busy season. Celebrate when it's appropriate. We're a woman-owned business. We're a women's business enterprise certified organization. Women's History Month and anything to do with sort of awareness for women's causes, very important to us. So we're going to celebrate and announce those when we can. And again, KPIs are big in what I do. People pay us in order to have them improve their marketing. I got to justify that somehow. And that comes with KPIs. That comes with them seeing the metrics grow over time and improvements over time. So look at your seasonal responsiveness. Look at what does well in different seasons and adjust your KPIs accordingly if you can do better or if you just know you're not going to do as well. Collaboration and workflow. Your editorial calendar should help you collaborate and should improve your workflow in your organization. So let's talk about the key component to that, and that's ownership. Who owns and maintains the calendar? Who's the person every 7, 10, 20, 30 days opening up that document and keeping it updated so everyone's up to speed? Figure that out. Maybe it's you. Maybe you can get a helper for that. Who's going to own each campaign or automation series? Again, if an automation series is about a particular product line or particular service, maybe you can get help from your operations team to get you that information. They can help own getting that information together so you can get that campaign out. And when do people check in and follow up? Do you have a monthly meeting, a weekly meeting, something to make sure that the owners are doing their job and that the owners can get a hold of the people they need to do their job? Think about these things because this is what makes a calendar a successful tool for your organization. Look for feedback, especially if you're new to editorial calendars. Look for feedback either from your internal team, from your external partners, or even from your subscribers. Get feedback on what you're sending out to know that you should send more of it or less of it or send something else completely. Get that feedback from all different stakeholders so you can put that into your editorial calendar for your next plan. One of the very big questions we get is, what should we use to build our editorial calendar? What's the best tool that's out there? The best tool is whatever tool you will use. If that is a sticky note, so be it. But try to organize them, okay? You can use something as simple as a spreadsheet. Some people, if you're very spreadsheety, that's great. If you're not very spreadsheety, think about maybe a calendar, just like a regular, online calendar where you can fill things out and share it with people. If you're a little more advanced and you're used to using project management tools like Asana, Trello, or Notion, you can build, a specific thing just for your content management. Those are really great tools if you like them and if your team can use them. If you want to go real deep dive, you could use something like CoSchedule or Monday.com, which really have like content built into the whole project plan. Personally, I like Airtable. It's sort of like a spreadsheet on steroids, and it can cross-reference other things. So you can have a content library that gets cross-referenced with your editorial calendar in Airtable. So there's a lot of great tools out there, but most importantly, it's whichever one you're going to use. Your action plan. I know we went over a lot in a very short amount of time, but here is your to-do list. Your next steps to make this work for you is audit and clarify your goals and audiences. Start with who you're talking to and where you want to get to with them. No planning can happen until you know that. Now, build your template, Notion, Airtable, spreadsheet, whatever you're going to use. Use something to add all those fields that we talked about and any others that are specific to your group, and build that calendar template so that you can start filling that out quarterly, seasonally, however it works best within your industry. But I always say at least plan 6 months out. Develop your core content themes and cadence. Understand in that audit to clarify your goals and audiences what you need to say to people at those different times so that you can then look at the content you have and start plopping that into the empty spaces on your calendar. Look at what you have before you make something new. Think about repurposing content across channels. Think about what you're grabbing from other spaces and also what you might be creating that other channels could use. Remember to balance your messaging type. Give, then ask. Do not keep asking every single time. And make sure you're implementing your collaboration feedback process. Set that up as you're setting up your calendar. Set that up so that you can start saying to people, hey, can I send you the calendar to get your feedback on it? Can I check to see if this content is right for your segment, for your stage of the funnel, for the information you're interested in? Start that now so you can plan well and you don't get stuck with content that just isn't going to fly. All right. I know this was long and I apologize for going over, but if you want to just go, please, you have my blessing. But if you'd like to learn more, we will send you these slides. We have some different resources here for examples and best practices. We also have some templates that you can link to make things a little easier for you. Don't feel like you need to invent the wheel. This has been done a lot. These are some great resources that I really like that I think will be helpful to all of you. So that is my presentation for today. Our next workshop is October 28th. We're going to talk about the future of email marketing. So you can start using that editorial calendar to plan your 2026 campaigns. And I hope you can join me then. You can register on our website, or we will also have a LinkedIn workshop invitation set up as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. If you'd like to learn more about how to take your marketing to the next level, please check out our YouTube channel with recordings from past workshops and other highlights. I think that's it for today.
All right. Thank you all for joining us. And I look forward to talking to you and hearing from you soon.
Thank you.